Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel on Pet Peeves with Liam. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about leadership. So I'm going to start with a lot of stuff in regards to leadership. Hope you guys learned something. All right, so what is leadership? Leadership is the ability to influence subordinates in order to accomplish a mission. I know a lot of you guys that do know me heard that a lot of times in high school, but it's true. So when you are a leader, you don't necessarily have to like have um, that ideal leader of a person, like where you're in big crowds and you're trying to lead somebody. No, it can be in a small area, whether that being trying to persuade somebody to doing the right thing, or getting someone to do whatever you need them to do. It's an influence, and not necessary it for it being good. It could also be bad too, of having that influence. But does that necessarily mean you being a leader? No, but it's just having that influence to move people in the right direction. So people look towards that a lot. Next thing I want to talk about is chain of command. So a chain of individuals creating a pyramid of those who are at the bottom to those who are at the top. So you have the people that's all the way at the bottom. You have your workers, you have your janitors, right? They are the people that's going to make the people at the top look good. Why? Because they're taking out the trash, they're cleaning toilets, they're doing things that nobody else want to do, but they're working hard, allowing the company to look really good. Meantime, so if it wasn't for janitors, the higher ups wouldn't look as good if it weren't for people at the bottom getting the job done. So, this delegates responsibility for who is responsible for what, instead of putting too much responsibility on that one person, creating a council. If there were to be a mishap, the person who is head in charge will get the allocates or take responsibility for what has happened, and will get the council and will get with the council to prevent another occurrence of the mishap. So, I used to or still work at UPS, and there'll be a lot of mishaps from here and there, and you have your soups. So you have your supervisors, people that's going to be in charge of you, and that's throughout the military. That's going to be throughout the civilian world, period. So you have people that's going to be in charge of you, right? And these people who are in charge of you are in a position where they have to get the job done. So they don't necessarily have to be in a job setting. They could be at a home setting too. So your mom or your dad or your guardian, your older sister, whatever, they can be someone who is second in command. So let's say, for example, your older sister, she's obviously your older sister. Something happens to your mom is sick. Now your older sister, she has to step up. Your older brother, he has to step up. You have to step up and take part on making everything go as smooth instead of as hard. So that's why we have a chain of command, a group of individuals who have responsibility rather than it being all on that one person, right? Next thing, we're going to talk about initiative. So, what does it mean to take initiative? It shows character and leadership when you push yourself to take the first difficult steps toward achieving your goals. Taking the initiative allows you to listen to your instincts more often and brings out the better in you. However, sometimes it is good to sit back, watch, and learn, because it's not always meant for you to jump to the rescue. So, going taking the initiative, it makes you take charge, right? So you don't want to be the person that's just always watching what happens. But like I said, sometimes you have to take a step back and watch what needs to happen, so that you can allow other people to take charge in a position where they need to be taking charge. Um, Next thing we're going to talk about responsibilities is really big. So being responsible and taking responsibility. When being in a leadership position, it is about you living up to your obligations and obligation to serve others. Through action, you prove that you are responsible. When something needs to be done, done. Responsible people do the work efficiently as possible and as best of their ability. So if you do your best, you've done your best. If you felt like you could have done a better job in doing it, then use that as a learning curve so that the next time you do get into that position, you can do a lot better. All right. So as a leader, sometimes you have to take responsibility for other people's actions as your own and teach the person right from wrong. However, hold that person accountable so they can learn from their mistakes. So you somebody mess up. Oh, I'm responsible for that person. That's not going to happen all the time. So you got to hold that person accountable, saying like, hey, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. So if you know this person messes up a lot, get with that person, have them accountable by taking like little steps to help that person be reminded by little things, by setting an alarm or um, put something in that person's face to allow them to remember if they're forgetful, um, if they are have that person practice a lot of times for whatever that person is getting having trouble with, right? So when that person actually gets it, then it will allow the whole team to grow as a team rather than, oh, that person is always a mess up, and you talking behind that person's back is not allowing that person to grow. Now granted, that person can be continuously messing up, but you still have a good heart towards that person, and show that person respect, although that person could get in your way, because you don't know what that person is capable of. All it takes is for one day. All right, so one bad day, excuse me. When people trust you, they may put you in a position of power, and opportunities for you will soon grow because you have shown you are capable of getting the job done. All right, so people are going to put you in a position where they trust you, and they may trust you with money. They may trust you with a position where you're in control of a lot of people. They may control. They may trust you with a secret, and you can't tell anybody. They may trust you with a relationship, and when you betray that relationship with that person, um, a lot of things go south, which I ain't gonna get into right now. All right. So the next thing is communication. It also goes in with responsibility because it's up to you to keep connection with those that are below you and those who are above you, and obviously you're the person in between, right? So communication is often not clear, especially in the military. Is really not clear because things are constantly happening, and people want to know what's going on, but often they don't know what's going on, so it creates confusion and it starts building up tension amongst the lower workers to the higher workers, right? When you do communicate a message, make sure it's clear and concise or specific, and it could and if not, then it can be misunderstood very easily, and whatever needs to be done will not be done. So mixed messages often happen all the time, even in text. When you're texting out to somebody and your mindset is somewhere else, and the other person's mindset is someone else, and you get the message all wrong, right? Or even somebody on how they are acting. It even goes into how someone's acting or how somebody's dressed. So somebody may take that person the wrong way on how they are, their body language, right? So which can also go into nonverbal communication. All right, so nonverbal communication is the energy that you give off, or it's the body gestures that you communicate to someone else. So you don't want to give off the wrong energy because people can easily feel it. People feel real and people feel fake. It's very real things. Um, so you don't want to have that energy. If you're in a work environment, you don't want to have that I don't want to be here energy, because it affects those around you. If you have a meh face, like resting B face, what they call it, people can also read that and they take that as having an attitude, right? So you don't want to be that person that be like that have that face, because it gives people the wrong impression of you, of your best you, right? And it actually lowers your chances to for growth when you do stuff like that. And although it may be natural, you don't smile a little bit, smile often. That way, people don't get the wrong perception of you. All right, so Also, be mindful on how you carry yourself because people will think of you otherwise. Like I said, when it comes to the body language and how you dress and stuff like that, yeah, that is profiling. But at the same time, it allows you to know who you want on your team. Now, that could be a false reading, which happens a lot, but you don't want to ruin your chances to exceeding unless you have your own agenda. You have your own intentions on what you're doing, right? Uh, so I said smile more, especially when you're in a business area. You would have smiled a lot more. You may not agree with what's going on at the time, but staying positive in words and energy will carry more for those around you. So you may not like what's going on and you just mad and your energy shows it, but you don't want to show and tell to those around you because they go off of that and then they start reacting and then they can go start wilding out, if you may. All right. Next thing will be conflict resolution. So coming to an agreement with words and actions that does not offend the other party or parties. Right. There will be small to major changes when making a resolution, and not everyone will like it. The manifestation of those changes is what matters most. So, not to get into politics too much, but you have a problem and you need your Democratic Party to solve the problem. Well, it may be a resolution to you, but on the other side of those who it affects to the Democratic Party, it may not help out on the other side, vice versa. And you're probably like, oh, I don't care about the other party, but when it's all together, it's going to affect everybody. So coming up with a solution is what matters. Is what matters on both ends. That way we can coincide, which is what we call a compromise. So when you compromise, you allow your integrity to be broken or bent in a way, because trying to stay to your word or what you agreed upon, right? But you have to make a compromise to allow the other people to benefit off of whatever needs to be solved. So last is making a commitment. So a commitment means that you're going to do what you say and you're going to say what you will do, and you're going to keep your word to it. So when you make a commitment, you honor it and prove to yourself and others that your intentions can be trusted. Commitment requires you to focus your energy on that commitment specifically. So when you say like, all right, nephew, I'm going to take you to the park, and it's basically like a promise. And if you know that you can't promise it, then you say, I can't promise that, but I'm gonna try my best to do what my intentions are, and you make it clear. That way, they don't feel betrayed that you told them that you're gonna do something, but you don't live up to your word. So acknowledge what your commitments are. So you don't want to overload your commitments with what you're trying to do for somebody because it's not gonna make it look good on your end because you're making all these commitments and you're not keeping your word to none of them, right? So going back, don't make promises you can't keep. That's what it comes to it. Take a step back and review your commitments and if they're progressing or not. Keep track of each commitment. Making commitments will help you maintain and prioritize what your goals are. It gives you a sense of accomplishment as you experience gradual change. So when when you make a commitment, right, even in marriage, you saying like, I promise that I'm gonna be with you through thick and thin, no matter what. You're gonna stay to it. You're gonna stay in your word that you're gonna do what you say that you're gonna do. But if there's no progression in it, then it doesn't really show for what you said that you're committing to. So sometimes you gotta analyze like, dang, what am I gonna miss out when I do make a commitment? So that basically wraps up the leadership video. I hope you guys learned something. Thank you guys for listening in. I hope you guys have a good one. Be safe.